The first charger that we made, everybody was so excited that, we made a charger. Now we do almost 1,500 chargers per day. We have the EV30 at 30, where we want to have 30% electrification by 2030, $100 billion opportunity. I was pretty sure I wanted to get into this space, look at energy efficiency and see how we could actually solve for India. The market is only at about 5% penetration, but realized that there was a really big gap in terms of what solutions were out there versus what the industry really needed. We wanted to be in energy transition. We wanted to create an impact that will promote local manufacturing, will promote a local ecosystem. My name is Zahra, and I'm CEO of IPEC India. IPEC designs and manufactures EV charging solutions for the automotive industry. We have private chargers, public chargers. We also do firmware and software solutions. And we're one of the leading, I would say, providers of charging solutions in India. India will continue to grow. I'd say that in terms of our EV story, we are going to continue to see the kind of penetrations in two-wheeler and three-wheeler that will continue. If I look at our energy, even from our policy perspectives, we have the EV30 at 30, where we want to have 30% electrification by 2030. We also have a lot of government policies, whether it's PLI, whether it's FAME, now it's called the PM E-Drive. All of this is creating a very robust, supportive ecosystem for EVs. So the market is expected to grow. It's expected that by 2030, it could be a $100 billion opportunity, seeing penetrations as high as 40%. And largely this is, again, driven by that people will actually see the value in moving electric, the impact. They will also see that, the government also pushing will also factor into this. So I'm a third generation entrepreneur. I'm actually a third generation woman entrepreneur from the Meher Group. So the Meher Group is our family business. It's a 45-year-old engineering group based out of Bangalore. Meher has been designing and manufacturing power quality solutions since 1977. And I've seen that sort of grow, growing up. And, my grandmother started the company in 1977. And then now even my mother is, one of the managing directors of one of the companies of the Meher Group. So that sort of entrepreneurship, focus on electricity, focus on energy efficiency has always been there. And I've always seen that growing up. So I think that I was no stranger to that. And then even while, from pretty early on, I was pretty sure I wanted to get into this space, look at energy efficiency and see how we could actually solve for India. And a very strong, I would say, nation building agenda also that was there back then. So right out of college, I did my electrical engineering in 2016 when, we were looking at different opportunities as part of the Meher Group. At that time, I was working in one of the Indo-German joint ventures, and we were focusing more on building products for sustainability. We saw the energy transition happening. We saw the energy transition, and coming from an electrical, industry, we saw this as a very big opportunity, and we wanted to get into this space. And we started talking to several companies. At that time, there were startups that were working in this space and not too many people, let's say, from the traditional OEMs. So we started speaking to Ather, trying to understand, because Bangalore at that time had a great ecosystem for this. A lot of startups, great companies working on actually developing technologies here in India for India. So what we did was started speaking to them, realized that there was a really big gap in terms of what solutions were out there versus what the industry really needed. If I look at it, let's say vehicle population here, it's two-wheeler, three-wheelers. They have to be affordable. They have to be, let's say, at the same time, light, also have the kind of range, also have the kind of performance. And what we saw is that there were technologies coming in from Europe, which were very expensive, more catered towards higher power, like four-wheelers. And at the other end of the spectrum, you had Chinese products, which were suitable in terms of power, but they were not enough or not reliable enough. So there was a big gap in the industry, and that's why we decided that we would focus on, building products that would service this unique need of India. The other thing we realize is that India has very unique power grid conditions. This is again from the legacy of Meher that we had. We have voltage spikes, a lot of irregularities. So we had to build products that could withstand that. At the same time, if you look at even our environmental conditions, right, the kind of dust, the kind of heat, the temperature that we have here, rain, vibration because of our roads. No one's a stranger to the kind of road conditions that we have and the kind of vibrations that you have. So we were building products which could also meet those stringent requirements. And that's why we started this company. We wanted to be in energy transition. We wanted to create an impact. If you look at the overall industry, there's a need to build specific solutions based on the use cases, right? So if you look at two-wheeler, three-wheelers, we have a catered solution for that. If you look at four-wheelers, there's a different solution that's required. So what we do is we do private charging solutions. So these are chargers that go along with every vehicle. So how when you buy a vehicle, you get a charger along with it. Those are the chargers that we provide. And this is both for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. We also do charging solutions, which are not just hardware, but it comes with software. It also comes with payment. It comes with also, let's say, a mobile app, a dashboard, so that you can seamlessly integrate this with your charging products. We do public charging solutions. So these can be installed in residential, commercial, workplace solutions. And overall, as IPEC, we don't want to, restrict ourselves just to e-mobility. Of course, mobility is just the first step. If you look at IPEC, the IPEC really stands for the Indian Power Electronic Company. So power electronics is where we want to be. Power electronics is anywhere where power conversion happens. And this is not possible, without chargers, with, even inverters that are required in, let's say, renewables, in energy storage. So I would say that mobility is just our starting point. And then we're looking at how we can diversify into other areas of power electronics and also which will meet our decarbonization agenda.
Super.
Yeah. So two-wheelers are a very large opportunity in India. They make up more than 57% of the EV market. If you look at, let's say, just last year, about 850,000 e-scooters were sold last year. So it's a very large market, very large opportunity. And we saw this happening at IPEC, at least. I saw this happening back in 2016, that this is where the penetration of electric vehicles would happen. So decided to focus on that, decided to build unique products for the two-wheeler segment, started working very closely with some great OEMs. The two-wheeler market, even if I look, there are two main growth factors again here, right? So from a B2C point of view, private charging is very important because most charging will happen at home. That's because the vehicle is stationary most of the time, whether you're at home or in the workplace. So you do have options to charge. When it comes to a B2B opportunity, there you have, let's say, fleets which are being driven by e-commerce, quick commerce, at the same time food delivery. So there we have solutions for battery swapping, at the same time, solutions that are fast charging for both the B2B and the B2C segments. This industry is just expected to grow because if you look at the total cost of ownership, it just makes economical sense as well. It's not just an environmental angle anymore. I think it's clear to anyone who's looking to buy an EV right now, at least in the two-wheeler space. You can clearly see the reasons or the value for buying one. And I think this will continue to grow at this rate. And there are, of course, estimates that by 2030, the penetration might be as high as 40%. Currently, the market is only at about 5% penetration right now. And with new models coming in, new OEMs coming into this space, is just expected to grow even exponentially. We decided that power electronics will be our focus because we want to be a part of the larger energy transition. We don't want to get slotted as an OEM. We want to focus on components, not just for e-mobility, but for renewables, for energy storage. And that sort of gave us that flexibility to play a much wider market, I would say. So I think so far we've had, I would say, the policy which is very supportive of the overall ecosystem. the government is pushing very aggressively towards going electric, and I think we're seeing this whether it is the EV 30 at 30, where we have a very ambitious target of wanting to be at 30% electrification by 2030. We're currently only at about 6.5%. So the government has set clear targets. At the same time, they have policies like FAME, which is the faster adoption and manufacturing of EVs, and now it's called the PM E-Drive. This policy is a sort of demand-side incentive, which incentivizes people who want to buy EVs. You get 10 to 15% off a discount over the overall sales price of the vehicle. So these are subsidies, clear demand-side subsidies that are being given. At the same time, there's a clear localization agenda. So if you look at this, each of these policies have a clear eligibility criteria where you need to have minimum 50% of domestic value add, not just at the vehicle level, but also at the component level. So us, let's say as a charger component manufacturer, also need to have 50% of value add being done domestically to even be eligible for those subsidies. So what the government is trying to do is they're trying to build and create that ecosystem, build that self-reliance, which is very important if you want to have sustained growth, bringing in, let's say, economies of scale, because you have to have that affordability as well for India. So there's also the PLI, which are production-linked incentive schemes. This is again promoting investments, at the same time pushing for local manufacturing. There, if you look at, there is advanced cell chemistry PLI, that's almost, I think, 18,000 crores that has been earmarked for this. Several companies have also become eligible. There we have an ambitious target of getting to 50 gigawatt hour in terms of size. If you look at the PLI, there's also one for auto and auto components. That's almost a 25,000 crore PLI that has been set out, right? And that will promote local manufacturing, will promote a local ecosystem. And I think that's absolutely required if you want to be competitive at a global level. So trust is a very important factor in this ecosystem, because you're building products that people own personally, and so they want to see reliability. Right? So one of the very important factors for us also from day one, when we are working with our customers, whether it's, let's say, Ather or even Hero or even Greaves, what we do is there's a lot of focus on reliability, there's a lot of focus on validation, and at the same time, we ensure that the products undergo rigorous testing, validation. And that is very important, because once, you cannot lose the trust of the customer. Getting a product back from the field is an absolute no-no. And those are the kind of high quality standards that are there in this industry. And that's why the entry barrier is so high, because not only do you have to, let's say, meet the technological requirements, you need to meet the reliability requirements. You need to also ensure that the products perform, day in, day out, irrespective of the kind of, conditions that they see. Rural is sort of the next frontier. So far, the industry has been focused on building premium products, entering the market, making a name for itself, building that brand recognition, but now to get a really, to the big part of India, which is the rural segment. And for the rural segment, there has to be a differentiated offering, which we are also working on. At the same time, you need to have, affordable and more accessible products, have the kind of distribution and sales network also, and, service network reaching them. And I think that's what the next focus is. At IPEC specifically, what we are looking at is we are building out, affordable solutions which are accessible by all. So basically, a sort of har ghar charger kind of solution is what we're looking at. We also want, at the same time, if you look at the overall sort of technology, and what we're excited about as well, is that you have battery technology, which is evolving rapidly. Your higher density batteries, your solid state batteries coming up, which will enable, much faster charging. They're much safer. They're also more compact. If you look at other technologies which are bringing down cost, there are also technologies that are enabling you to have much larger range. Now, couple this with charging technology, which is what we're trying to do, where build that ecosystem play, where we're saying you have your higher density batteries, which are giving you larger range. We're able to sort of complement that with higher power charging, so you can charge much faster. At the same time, you can also integrate with renewables, so you're not dependent on the power grid. It's also more, I would say, carbon footprint friendly. And you can have let's say, the future where you have very quick charging. You also have charging which is completely off grid. You can feed back into the grid, let's say, if any point of time if you need, because you'll have bidirectional charging. That's some of the things that we're working on, and have an ecosystem where you have the same convenience as an IC engine vehicle, where I can just go charge within 15 minutes. Get out of there at the same time. I'm not even thinking, or charging is not even something that I'm thinking about. We could have wireless technologies also coming in, where people just have to come park their cars. Charging happens seamlessly. There's no issues of interoperability, no standardization when it comes to connectors. All of it is happening seamlessly behind the scenes, to bring in that convenience, to bring in that sort of accessibility to all. So I just want to compare the two, right? So I have let's say a typical petrol scooter. So ICE engine vehicle versus, let's say, electric. So we'll do a apple to apple comparison. You have, let's say, a petrol scooter, or actually let's just take even the example of a four-wheeler. Will typically give you mileage of 15 to 20 kilometers per liter. For the sake of this calculation, let's say 20 kilometers per liter, right? So I have 20 kilometers per liter. 1 liter of petrol has an energy of about 10 kilowatt hour. So that means I will utilize 1 kilowatt hour of energy to travel a distance of 2 kilometers, right? So this is the math for a, let's say, ICE engine vehicle. So I'm consuming the same 1 kilowatt hour. It's only taking me 2 kilometers. The rest of it is being, let's say, lost as either heat, because ICE engine vehicles, they actually have very low efficiencies. They're actually efficiencies of only 20 to 30%. That means the remaining energy is just being lost, right? But the same thing, if you look at an electric vehicle, they are 90%, so 90 to 95% efficient, which means that, let's say I have a Nexon. Everybody has, let's say, is familiar with a Tata Nexon EV. It comes with a 45 kilowatt hour battery pack, which means if I have to do a full charge, I will consume 45 kilowatt hours of energy. This will take me, again, for the sake of calculation, about 450 kilometers. And this is even, let's say, if you look at the specs, these are the specs that are published. That means 45 kilowatt hour is taking me 450 kilometers, which again means 10. So 1 kilowatt hour is taking me 10 kilometers. So here I have the same 1 kilowatt hour of energy taking me 5 times the distance than a petrol vehicle. So the math is very clear. And for anybody who says that, okay, I still have to burn electricity to power it, but I have to burn 1/5 the amount of, let's say, coal to travel the same distance, because it's a lot more efficient. And that's why, coming from as an engineering point of view, it's very exciting for us, because we're building, our goal is to build more efficient technologies. As we grow forward, as more and more people, come into the system where you are utilizing, consuming electricity, you can't do it at the same rate. We have to be more efficient. We have to be more efficient, more conscious of this. So we have to move towards more efficient technologies. We're getting into the four-wheeler space in a big way, and also public charging. This will put us in a B2C space for the first time. Largely, we've been focused on B2B, but this is like a very different ballgame, very different industry. So we are quite excited about that as well. And we're just trying to see how, I would say, scale this entire business and look at more areas of decarbonization that can really add impact, right? So we've seen India now, and we know India well, and try to see how we can take this and apply it to other markets and sort of take advantage of those markets as well. I would say that would be sort of our next journey for the next 2 to 3 years. If we were able to, let's say, sort of capture the market and sell 8 lakh charging products, is because we, of course, are very conscious that we know this, that without the charger, the vehicle will not work. It's as good as the fuel, right? So without the fuel, the vehicle won't work. So it's a very integral part of the entire ecosystem. And that's why we wanted to be part of the ecosystem, which, is very integral. Coming to, the kind of OEMs that we've been working with, the kind of, I would say, quality that they need, if you look at even in terms of our systems, if you look at even in terms of our capacities, it's the entry barriers are very high. Just in order to come into this market, it's very, very male dominated, very large, OEMs that we're going after. And the reason why we're able to make a mark in this is because we understand the market better than them, I would say. And I think coming from an electrical industry background, I think we understand the market better than them. We understand the products better than them. We have speed in the sense we can quickly adapt. We're also able to, I would say, offer differentiated. For example, I can do hardware, we can do software seamlessly integrated, which a traditional automotive industry is not so well versed with yet. So these are some of the advantages that we bring to the table. And then, of course, it's no brainer that without, reliable charging, which is also smart, which is also integrated seamlessly, it'll not be a good user experience. So the entire user experience would be incomplete without having these reliable chargers. So when we started off IPEC, we were a small team of 5 people back in 2018. Now we're about 300 people. And this is across R&D, manufacturing, supply chain. We started off by doing, 1 charger per day. That was our run rate. I still remember our team, the first charger that we made, everybody was so excited that, we made a charger. Now we do almost 1,500 chargers per day. So we've gone from doing 1 charger per day to 1,500 chargers per day, within 6 years. And that has been an incredible journey. And also, if we look at even the kind of support that we've got from our OEMs, it's been incredible. We've been able to, turn around products within 6 months in an industry which normally takes 2 years. To launch a product, we've been doing this in 6 months. And so the overall ecosystem play has been there. The sense of collaboration has been there. And even at IPEC, everything that we do, right from, let's say, 3 years ago, more than 60% of the components were being imported. Right? So if you look at just our BM, so 60 to 65% was being imported just 3 years ago. If I look today, only less than maybe 40% is being imported. So in 3 years, we've gone from importing 60% of components to importing less than 40%. And this is not an easy task. You have to, do a technology. So innovation has to be done. You have to move entire supply chains over here, right from the PCBAs, right? So assembly of PCBAs, the enclosures, the cables, right from the mechanicals, the thermals, everything has been localized here. And this localization journey also has been very important for us because that has helped us sort of bring down costs, be competitive. And I think we're at a point where if we reach the kind of reliance when it comes to technology and also manufacturing, we're poised, I think, in the right space to even take this global, right? So if we can build products here which are affordable, which are reliable, which work in these kind of very, very strict conditions of, heat and vibration and dust, they can work anywhere else in the world. If they can sustain these kind of, let's say, power grid situations, the products that we have will be, I would say, globally competitive and world class. So currently our market share is about 15 to 20%. And that's only in the two-wheeler space, right? So we are aiming to get to 40%. And we're able to do this because we're going after the top 6 OEMs. So if you look at the top 6 OEMs today, it's Ola, it's Ather, TVS, Bajaj, Ampere. And these companies make up, more than 75% of the market. And we want to have at least 50% market share with them. So that's sort of the calculation that we're going for, right? At least reaching about 40% penetration in the two-wheeler space. We don't want to restrict ourselves there though. We've gotten into the three-wheeler space. We've built products for that. We're also getting into the four-wheeler space now where we've designed solutions both with hardware and software. These come with billing, metering, payment solutions, fully integrated. You can discover your charger, map yourself to the closest charging station, remotely start, stop charging, make your payment all seamlessly through our products for even four-wheelers. So we're not restricting ourselves. Two-wheeler was just the starting point. We want to be market leaders in two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler. We want to do hardware, we want to do software, we want to do both of it. And at the same time, we want to see how we can take this global.